Friends, I find you want to watch super hit movie Avatar in English, then you must like this video if you are visiting our channel for the first time. Don't forget to subscribe West Films to our channel, friends, in today's video. The movie we're going to talk about is called Avatar. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it, all the interesting facts about this movie in today's video. I'm also going to give you all the information on which OTT platform or on which satellite channel you will get to watch this movie. Also, we will talk in detail about the technical department, music department, pre-production filming, post-production, budget, box office collection of this film. We will also talk about the story of this film, and I will also give you a small review of the story of this film. Apart from this, we will discuss about the facts of this film's storylines, star cast actors' performance in the film, and which character has played which role. That's why I request you friends to watch this video till the end, so let's start the video. Avatar is a 2009 epic science fiction film co-produced, co-edited, written, and directed by James Cameron. It features an ensemble cast including Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Stephen Lang, Michelle Rodriguez, and Sigourney Weaver. The first installment in the Avatar film series, it is set in the mid-22nd century, when humans are colonizing Pandora, a lush habitable moon of a gas giant in the Alpha Centauri star system, in order to mine the valuable unobtainium, a room-temperature superconductor mineral. The expansion of the mining colony threatens the continued existence of a local tribe of Na'vi, a humanoid species indigenous to Pandora. The title of the film refers to a genetically engineered Na'vi body operated from the brain of a remotely located human that is used to interact with the natives of Pandora, called an avatar. Development of Avatar began in 1994, when Cameron wrote an 80-page treatment for the film. Filming was supposed to take place after the completion of Cameron's 1997 film Titanic, for a planned release in 1999. However, according to Cameron, the necessary technology was not yet available to achieve his vision of the film. Work on the fictional constructed language of the Na'vi began in 2005, and Cameron began developing the screenplay and fictional universe in early 2006. Avatar was officially budgeted at $237 million. Due to the groundbreaking array of new visual effects Cameron achieved in cooperation with Weta Digital in Wellington. Other estimates put the cost at between $280 million and $310 million for production and at $150 million for promotion. The film made extensive use of 3D computer graphics and new motion capture filming techniques and was released for traditional viewing, 3D viewing, using the Real 3D, Dolby 3D, X-Band 3D, and IMAX 3D formats, and 4D experiences in selected South Korean theaters. The film also saw Cameron reunite with his Titanic co-producer John Landau, who he would later credit for having a prominent role in the film's production. Avatar premiered at the Odeon Leicester Square in London on December 10, 2009, and was released in the United States on December 18th. The film received positive reviews from critics, who highly praised its groundbreaking visual effects, though the story received some criticism for being derivative. During its theatrical run, the film broke several box office records, including becoming the highest-grossing film of all time. In July 2019, this position was overtaken by Avengers Endgame, but with a re-release in China in March 2021, it returned to becoming the highest-grossing film since then. Adjusted for inflation, Avatar is the second highest-grossing movie of all time, only behind Gone with the Wind, 1939, with a total of a little more than $3.5 billion. It also became the first film to gross more than $2 billion and the best-selling video title of 2010 in the United States. Avatar was nominated for 9 awards at the 82nd Academy Awards, winning 3, and received numerous other accolades. The success of the film also led to electronics manufacturers releasing 3D televisions and caused 3D films to increase in popularity. Its success led to the Avatar franchise, which includes the sequels The Way of Water 2022, Fire and Ash 2025, Avatar 4 2029, and Avatar 5 2031. Plot. In 2154, Earth suffers from resource exhaustion and ecological collapse. The Resources Development Administration, RDA, mines the valuable mineral unobtainium on Pandora, a lush habitable moon orbiting a gas giant in the Alpha Centauri star system. Pandora, whose atmosphere is inhospitable to humans, is inhabited by the 10-foot-tall, 3.0 meters, blue-skinned, sapient humanoids that live in harmony with nature. To explore Pandora, genetically matched human scientists control Navi-human hybrids called avatars. Paraplegic former Marine Jake Sully is recruited by the RDA to replace his deceased identical twin who had signed up to be an operator. Avatar program head Dr. Grace Augustine considers Jake inadequate, but accepts him as an operator. While escorting the avatars of Grace and Dr. Norm Spellman, Jake's avatar is attacked by Pandoran wildlife and flees into the forest, where he is rescued by the Navi princess Neytiri. Suspicious of Jake, she takes him to her clan. Neytiri's mother, Moat, the clan's spiritual leader, orders her daughter to initiate Jake into their society. Colonel Miles Quaritch, head of RDA's security force, promises Jake that the company will restore the use of his legs if he provides information about the Navi and their gathering place, the giant home tree, under which is a rich deposit of unobtainium. Learning of this, Grace transfers herself, Jake, and Norm to an outpost. Jake and Neytiri fall in love as Jake is initiated into the tribe, and they choose each other as mates. When Jake attempts to disable a bulldozer threatening a sacred Navi site, Administrator Parker Selfridge orders Home Tree destroyed. Despite Grace's argument that destroying Home Tree would damage the biological neural network that encompasses all Pandoran life, Selfridge gives Jake and Grace 1 hour to convince the Navi to evacuate. Jake confesses that he was a spy, and the Navi take him and Grace captive. Quaritch's soldiers destroy Home Tree, killing many, including Neytiri's father, the clan chief. Moat frees Jake and Grace, but they are detached from their avatars and imprisoned by Quaritch's forces. Pilot Trudy Chacon, disgusted by Quaritch's brutality, airlifts Jake, Grace, and Norm to Grace's outpost, but during the escape, Grace is shot and fatally wounded. Jake regains the Navi's trust by connecting his mind to that of the Toruk, a dragon-like creature feared and revered by the Navi. Supported by Neytiri and the new chief Sute, Jake unites the clan, telling them to gather all the clans to battle the RDA. Quaritch organizes a strike against the Tree of Souls to demoralize the Navi. Before the battle, Jake prays to the Navi deity Aiwa via a neural connection with the Tree of Souls. Sute and Trudy are among the battle's heavy casualties. The Navi are rescued when Pandoran wildlife unexpectedly join the attack and overwhelm the humans, which Neytiri interprets as Aiwa answering Jake's prayer. Quaritch, in an AMP suit, escapes his crashed aircraft and breaks open the Avatar link unit containing Jake's human body, exposing it to Pandora's poisonous atmosphere. As Quaritch prepares to kill Jake's avatar, he is killed by Neytiri, who saves Jake from suffocation, seeing his human form for the first time. The RDA are expelled from Pandora. Only some humans are chosen to stay. Jake is permanently transferred into his avatar with the aid of the Tree of Souls. Cast Sam Worthington as Jake Sully, a disabled former Marine who becomes part of the Avatar program after his twin brother is killed. His military background helps the Navi warriors relate to him. Cameron cast the Australian actor after a worldwide search for promising young actors, preferring relative unknowns to keep the budget down. In the beginning, Cameron offered the role to Matt Damon, with a 10% stake in the film's profits, but Damon turned the film down because of his commitment to The Bourne Ultimatum, 2007. Other notable actors who auditioned for the part include Chris Pratt and Chris Pine, with the studio pushing Jake Gyllenhaal to play the role. But Gyllenhaal turned the film down because he wished to focus on Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, 2010 instead. Ultimately, the 3 finalists for the role were Channing Tatum, Chris Evans, and Worthington, with Cameron ultimately going with Worthington. Worthington, who was living in his car at the time, initially thought that he would not be cast due to his frustration in the initial audition, but has since signed on for possible sequels. Cameron felt that because Worthington had not done a major film, he would give the character a quality that is really real. Cameron said he has that quality of being a guy you'd want to have a beer with, and he ultimately becomes a leader who transforms the world. Worthington also briefly appears as Jake's deceased identical twin, Dr. Tommy Sully. Zoe Saldana as Neytiri Titskahamoit, the daughter of the leader of the Omaticaya, the Na'vi clan central to the story. She is heir to the spiritual leader of the clan. She is attracted to Jake because of his bravery, though frustrated with him for what she sees as his naivete and stupidity. She serves as Jake's love interest. In earlier drafts of the screenplay, this character was known as Zuleika Takaha Polonoma. When the film began to be developed, Charisma Carpenter was set to play the role. But by the time the film had been greenlit in 2006, Carpenter had become too old for the role and was thus not cast. Cameron then began a worldwide search for actresses to play the role, with Q'orianka Kilcher being considered and Emily Blunt auditioning for the role. Eventually, Cameron cast Saldana in the role. Since she was cast early in production, Saldana helped screen test actors auditioning for the part of Jake Sully, including eventual co-star Worthington. The character, like all the Na'vi, was created using performance capture, and its visual aspect is entirely computer-generated. Saldana signed on for potential sequels. Stephen Lang as Colonel Miles Quaritch, the head of the mining operations security detail. Fiercely consistent in his disregard for any life not recognized as human, he has a profound disregard for Pandora's inhabitants that is evident in both his actions and his language. Lang had unsuccessfully auditioned for a role in Cameron's Aliens 1986, but the director remembered Lang and sought him for Avatar. Michael Biehn, who had worked with Cameron in Aliens, The Terminator 1984, and Terminator 2, Judgment Day 1991, was briefly considered for the role. He read the script and watched some of the 3D footage with Cameron, but was ultimately not cast. Michelle Rodriguez as Captain Trudy Chacon, a combat pilot assigned to support the Avatar program who is sympathetic to the Na'vi. Cameron had wanted to work with Rodriguez since seeing her in Girl Fight 2000. Giovanni Ribisi as Parker Selfridge, the corporate administrator for the RDA mining operation. While he is at first willing to destroy the Na'vi civilization to preserve the company's bottom line, he is reluctant to authorize the attacks on the Na'vi and taint his image, doing so only after Quaritch persuades him that it is necessary and that the attacks will be humane. When the attacks are broadcast to the base, Selfridge displays discomfort at the violence. Joel David Moore as Dr. Norm Spellman, a xenoanthropologist who studies plant and animal life as part of the Avatar program. He arrives on Pandora at the same time as Jake and operates an Avatar. Although he is expected to lead the diplomatic contact with the Na'vi, it turns out that Jake has the personality better suited to win the natives' respect. Josh Gad was a runner-up for the role. Moore also portrays Norm's Na'vi avatar as Moat, the spiritual leader of the Omaticaya. She is the mother of Neytiri and mate to Atakan, the clan's leader. Wes Studi is Atakan Titska Kamunitan, the clan chief of the Omaticaya. He is the mate of Moat and father of Neytiri. Laz Alonso as Sute Terungloa Taten, the finest warrior of the Omaticaya. He is heir to the chieftainship of the tribe. At the beginning of the film's story, he is betrothed to Neytiri. Sigourney Weaver as Dr. Grace Augustin, an exobiologist and head of the Avatar program. She is also Jake's mentor and an advocate of peaceful relations with the Na'vi, having set up a school to teach them English. Weaver dyed her hair red for the part. Her character was named Shipley at one point. The character reminded Weaver of Cameron, being very driven and very idealistic. Weaver also portrays Grace's Na'vi avatar, Dilip Rao's Dr. Max Patel, a scientist who works in the Avatar program and comes to support Jake's rebellion against the RDA, Matt Gerald as Corporal Lyle Wainfleet, a mercenary who works for the RDA as Quaritch's right-hand man. Additionally, Alicia Vela Bailey appears uncredited as Ikini, the leader of the Tairangi clan, Sayla, one of the young Na'vi hunters who accompany Jake during his Iknamaya, and a harassed blonde woman in a bar that Jake defends. Vela Bailey served as the stunt double for Zoe Saldana and would later portray Dinarsk in Avatar: The Way of Water. Terry Notary, who performed stunts as well, plays the Banshees via motion capture. Production. Origins in 1994, director James Cameron wrote an 80-page treatment for Avatar, drawing inspiration from science fiction books he had read in his childhood, as well as from adventure novels by Edgar Rice Burroughs and H. Rider Haggard. Parts of the movie also came to him in a dream when he was 19 years old. He dreamed about a bioluminescent forest with fiber optic trees, fan lizards, a river with bioluminescent particles, and a purple moss that lit up when stepped on. When he woke up, he made a drawing of the scene and later used it in the movie. In August 1996, Cameron announced that after completing Titanic, he would film Avatar, which would make use of synthetic or computer-generated actors. The project would cost $100 million and involve at least 6 actors in leading roles, who appear to be real but do not exist in the physical world. Visual Effects House Digital Domain, with whom Cameron has a partnership, joined the project, which was supposed to begin production in mid-1997 for a 1999 release. However, Cameron felt that the technology had not caught up with the story and vision that he intended to tell. He decided to concentrate on making documentaries and refining the technology for the next few years. It was revealed in a Bloomberg Businessweek cover story that 20th Century Fox had fronted $10 million to Cameron to film a proof-of-concept clip for Avatar, which he showed to Fox executives in October 2005. In February 2006, Cameron revealed that his film Project 880 was a retooled version of Avatar, a film that he had tried to make years earlier, citing the technological advances in the creation of the computer-generated characters Gollum, King Kong, and Davy Jones. Cameron had chosen Avatar over his Project Battle Angel after completing a 5-day camera test in the previous year. Development. From January to April 2006, Cameron worked on the script and developed a culture for the Na'vi, the film's aliens. The Na'vi language was created by Paul Frommer, a linguist at USC. The Na'vi language has a lexicon of about 1,000 words, with some 30 added by Cameron. The tongue's phonemes include ejective consonants, such as the KX in S-hex-eng, that are found in Amharic, and the initial NG that Cameron may have taken from the Maori language. Actress Sigourney Weaver and the film's set designers met with Jody S. Holt, professor of plant physiology at University of California, Riverside, to learn about the methods used by botanists to study and sample plants and to discuss ways to explain the communication between Pandora's organisms depicted in the film. From 2005 to 2007, Cameron worked with a handful of designers, including famed fantasy illustrator Wayne Barlow and renowned concept artist Jordu Shell, to shape the design of the Na'vi with paintings and physical sculptures, when Cameron felt that 3D brush renderings were not capturing his vision, often working together in the kitchen of Cameron's Malibu home. In July 2006, Cameron announced that he would film Avatar for a mid-2008 release and planned to begin principal photography with an established cast by February 2007. The following August, the visual effects studio Weta Digital signed on to help Cameron produce Avatar. Stan Winston, who had collaborated with Cameron in the past, joined Avatar to help with the film's designs. Production design for the film took several years. The film had 2 different production designers and 2 separate art departments, one of which focused on the flora and fauna of Pandora, and another that created human machines and human factors. In September 2006, Cameron was announced to be using his own reality camera system to film in 3D. The system would use 2 high-definition cameras in a single camera body to create depth perception. While these preparations were underway, Fox wavered in its commitment to Avatar because of cost overruns and delays on Cameron's previous picture, Titanic. During the production of Titanic, Cameron rewrote the script to streamline the plot by combining several characters, roles, and offered to cut his fee if the film were a commercial disappointment. Cameron installed a traffic light with the amber signal lit outside of co-producer John Landau's office to represent the film's uncertain future. Landau, who previously worked with Cameron as co-producer of Titanic, first met Cameron in 1993 when they were involved in the production of True Lies Following True Lies. Landau would leave his role as a Fox executive to work in Cameron's production company, Lightstorm. After Landau's death in July 2024, Cameron credited him for having a vital role in the production of Avatar. In mid-2006, Fox decisively declined to produce the film, so Cameron began shopping it around to other studios. He approached Walt Disney Studios, showing his proof of concept to Disney CEO Bob Iger, then studio chairman Dick Cook, and Alan Bergman. However, when Walt Disney Pictures attempted to take over, Fox exercised its right of first refusal. In October 2006, Fox finally committed to making Avatar after Ingenious Media agreed to back the film, reducing Fox's financial exposure to less than half of the film's official $237 million budget. After Fox accepted Avatar, one skeptical Fox executive told Cameron and Landau, "I don't know if we're crazier for letting you do this, or if you're crazier for thinking you can do this." In December 2006, Cameron described Avatar as a futuristic tale set on a planet 200 years hence. An old-fashioned jungle adventure with an environmental conscience that aspires to a mythic level of storytelling. The January 2007 press release described the film as an emotional journey of redemption and revolution, and said the story is of a wounded former Marine thrust unwillingly into an effort to settle and exploit an exotic planet rich in biodiversity, who eventually crosses over to lead the indigenous race in a battle for survival. The story would be of an entire world complete with an ecosystem of phantasmagorical plants and creatures, and native people with a rich culture and language. Estimates put the cost of the film at about $280 to $310 million to produce, and an estimated $150 million for marketing, noting that about $30 million in tax credits would lessen the financial impact on the studio and its financiers for promotion. End of story. Filming. Principal photography for Avatar began in April 2007 in Los Angeles and Wellington. Cameron described the film as a hybrid with a full live-action shoot in combination with computer-generated characters and live environments. Ideally, at the end of the day, the audience has no idea which they're looking at, Cameron said. The director indicated that he had already worked 4 months on non-principal scenes for the film. The live action was shot with a modified version of the proprietary digital 3D fusion camera system, developed by Cameron and Vince Pace. In January 2007, Fox had announced that 3D filming for Avatar would be done at 24 frames per second, despite Cameron's strong opinion that a 3D film requires a higher frame rate to make strobing less noticeable. According to Cameron, the film is composed of 60% computer-generated elements and 40% live action, as well as traditional miniatures. Motion capture photography lasted 31 days at the Hughes Aircraft Stage in Playa Vista, Los Angeles. Live-action photography began in October 2007 at Stone Street Studios in Wellington and was scheduled to last 31 days. More than 1,000 people worked on the production. In preparation of the filming sequences, all of the actors underwent professional training specific to their characters, such as archery, horseback riding, firearm use, and hand-to-hand combat. They received language and dialect training in the Na'vi language created for the film. Before shooting the film, Cameron also sent the cast to the Hawaiian tropical rainforests to get a feel for a rainforest setting before shooting on the soundstage. During filming, Cameron made use of his virtual camera system, a new way of directing motion capture filmmaking. The system shows the actors' virtual counterparts in their digital surroundings in real time, allowing the director to adjust and direct scenes just as if shooting live action. According to Cameron, it's like a big, powerful game engine. If I want to fly through space or change my perspective, I can. I can turn the whole scene into a living miniature and go through it on a 50-to-1 scale. Using conventional techniques, the complete virtual world cannot be seen until the motion capture of the actors is complete. Cameron said this process does not diminish the value or importance of acting. On the contrary, because there is no need for repeated camera and lighting setups, costume fittings, and makeup touch-ups, scenes do not need to be interrupted repeatedly. Cameron described the system as a form of pure creation, where if you want to move a tree or a mountain or the sky or change the time of day, you have complete control over the elements. Cameron gave fellow directors Steven Spielberg and Peter Jackson a chance to test the new technology. Spielberg said, "I like to think of it as digital makeup, not augmented animation. Motion capture brings the director back to a kind of intimacy that actors and directors only know when they're working in live theater." Spielberg and George Lucas were also able to visit the set to watch Cameron direct with the equipment. To film the shots where CGI interacts with live action, a unique camera referred to as a simulcam was used, a merger of the 3D fusion camera and the virtual camera systems. While filming live action in real time with the simulcam, the CGI images captured with the virtual camera or designed from scratch are superimposed over the live action images as in augmented reality and shown on a small monitor, making it possible for the director to instruct the actors how to relate to the virtual material in the scene. Due to Cameron's personal convictions about climate change, he allowed only plant-based vegan food to be served on set. Eventually, Cameron stated that it was John Landau who was the heart of the Avatar family and the center of gravity of our little bubble universe. Visual effects. A number of innovative visual effects techniques were used during production. According to Cameron, work on the film had been delayed since the 1990s to allow the techniques to reach the necessary degree of advancement to adequately portray his vision of the film. The director planned to make use of photorealistic, computer-generated characters created using new motion capture animation technologies he had been developing in the 14 months leading up to December 2006. Innovations include a new system for lighting massive areas like Pandora's Jungle, a motion capture stage or volume 6 times larger than any previously used, and an improved method of capturing facial expressions, enabling full performance capture. To achieve the face capturing, actors wore individually made skull caps fitted with a tiny camera positioned in front of the actors' faces. The information collected about their facial expressions and eyes is then transmitted to computers. According to Cameron, the method allows the filmmakers to transfer 100% of the actors' physical performances to their digital counterparts. Besides the performance capture data which were transferred directly to the computers, numerous reference cameras gave the digital artists multiple angles of each performance. A technically challenging scene was near the end of the film when the computer-generated Neytiri held the live-action Jake in human form, and attention was given to the details of the shadows and reflected light between them. The lead visual effects company was Weta Digital in Wellington, at one point employing 900 people to work on the film. Because of the huge amount of data which needed to be stored, cataloged, and available for everybody involved, even on the other side of the world, a new cloud computing and digital asset management dam system named Gaia was created by Microsoft especially for Avatar, which allowed the crews to keep track of and coordinate all stages in the digital processing. To render Avatar, Weta used a 930 square meters, 10,000 square feet server farm, making use of 4,000 Hewlett-Packard servers with 35,000 processor cores with 104 terabytes of RAM and 3 petabytes of network area storage, running Ubuntu Linux, Grid Engine Cluster Manager, and 2 of the animation software and managers, Pixar's RenderMan and Pixar's Alfred Q management system. The render farm occupies the 193rd to 197th spots in the top 500 list of the world's most powerful supercomputers. A new texturing and paint software system called Mari was developed by the Foundry in cooperation with Weta. Creating the Na'vi characters in the virtual world of Pandora required over a petabyte of digital storage, and each minute of the final footage for Avatar occupies 17.28 gigabytes of storage. It would often take the computer several hours to render a single frame of the film. To help finish preparing the special effects sequences on time, a number of other companies were brought on board, including Industrial Light and Magic, which worked alongside Weta Digital to create the battle sequences. ILM was responsible for the visual effects for many of the film's specialized vehicles and devised a new way to make CGI explosions. Joe Lettery was the film's visual effects general supervisor. Music and soundtrack. Composer James Horner scored the film, his third collaboration with Cameron after Aliens and Titanic. Horner recorded parts of the score with a small chorus singing in the alien language Na'vi in March 2008. He also worked with Wanda Bryant, an ethnomusicologist, to create a music culture for the alien race. The first scoring sessions were planned to take place in early 2009. During production, Horner promised Cameron that he would not work on any other project except for Avatar and reportedly worked on the score from 4 in the morning until 10 at night throughout the process. He stated in an interview, "Avatar has been the most difficult film I have worked on and the biggest job I have undertaken." Horner composed the score as 2 different scores merged into one. He first created a score that reflected the Na'vi way of sound and then combined it with a separate, traditional score to drive the film. British singer Leona Lewis was chosen to sing the theme song for the film, called "I See You." An accompanying music video, directed by Jake Nava, premiered December 15, 2009 on MySpace. Themes and inspirations. Main article, Themes in Avatar. Avatar is primarily an action-adventure journey of self-discovery in the context of imperialism and deep ecology. Cameron said his inspiration was every single science fiction book I read as a kid, and that he wanted to update the style of Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter series. He acknowledged that Avatar shares themes with the films. At play in the Fields of the Lord, the Emerald Forest, and Princess Mononoke, which feature clashes between cultures and civilizations, and with Dances with Wolves, where a battered soldier finds himself drawn to the culture he was initially fighting against. He also cited Hayao Miyazaki's anime films such as Princess Mononoke as an influence on the ecosystem of Pandora. In 2012, Cameron filed a 45-page legal declaration that intended to describe in great detail the genesis of the ideas, themes, storylines, and images that came to be Avatar. In addition to historical events, such as European colonization of the Americas, his life experiences, and several of his unproduced projects, Cameron drew connections between Avatar and his previous films. He cited his script and concept art for Xenogenesis, partially produced as a short film, as being the basis for many of the ideas and visual designs in Avatar. He stated that Avatar's concepts of a world mind, intelligence within nature, the idea of projecting force or consciousness using an avatar, colonization of alien planets, greedy corporate interests backed up by military force, the story of a seemingly weaker group prevailing over a technologically superior force, and the good scientist were all established in recurrent themes from his earlier films, including Aliens, The Abyss, Rambo, First Blood Part 2, The Terminator, and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. He specifically mentioned the water tentacle in The Abyss as an example of an avatar that takes on the appearance of an alien life form in order to bridge the cultural gap and build trust. Cameron also cited a number of works by other creators as reference points and sources of inspiration for Avatar. These include 2 of his favorite films, 2001: A Space Odyssey, where mankind experiences an evolution after meeting alien life, and Lawrence of Arabia, where an outsider encounters and immerses into a foreign culture and then ultimately joins that group to fight other outsiders. Cameron said he became familiar with the concept of a human operating a synthetic avatar inside another world from George Henry Smith's short story In the Imagicon and Arthur C. Clarke's novel The City in the Stars. He said he learned of the term avatar by reading the cyberpunk novels Neuromancer by William Gibson and Islands in the Net by Bruce Sterling. The idea of a world mind originated in the novel Solaris by Stanislaw Lem. Cameron mentioned several other films about people interacting with indigenous cultures as inspiring him, including Dances with Wolves, The Man Who Would Be King, The Mission, The Emerald Forest, Medicine Man, The Jungle Book, and Fern Gully. He also cited as inspiration the John Carter and Tarzan stories by Edgar Rice Burroughs and other adventure stories by Rudyard Kipling and H. Rider Haggard. In a 2007 interview with Time magazine, Cameron was asked about the meaning of the term avatar, to which he replied, "It's an incarnation of one of the Hindu gods taking a flesh form. In this film, what that means is that the human technology in the future is capable of injecting a human's intelligence into a remotely located body, a biological body. Cameron also cited the Japanese cyberpunk manga and anime Ghost in the Shell in terms of how humans can remotely control and transfer their personalities into alien bodies. The look of the Na'vi, the humanoids indigenous to Pandora, was inspired by a dream that Cameron's mother had long before he started work on Avatar. In her dream, she saw a blue-skinned woman 12 feet 4 meters tall, which he thought was kind of a cool image. Also, he said, "I just like blue. It's a good color. Plus, there's a connection to the Hindu deities, which I like conceptually." He included similar creatures in his first screenplay, written in 1976 or 1977, which featured a planet with a native population of gorgeous tall blue aliens. The Na'vi were based on them. For the love story between characters Jake and Neytiri, Cameron applied a star-crossed love theme, which he said was in the tradition of Romeo and Juliet. He acknowledged its similarity to the pairing of Jack and Rose from his film Titanic. An interviewer stated, "Both couples come from radically different cultures that are contemptuous of their relationship and are forced to choose sides between the competing communities." Cameron described Neytiri as his Pocahontas, saying that his plotline followed the historical story of a white outsider who falls in love with the chief's daughter, who becomes his guide to the tribe and to their special bond with nature. Cameron felt that whether or not the Jake and Neytiri love story would be perceived as believable partially hinged on the physical attractiveness of Neytiri's alien appearance, which was developed by considering her appeal to the all-male crew of artists. Although Cameron felt Jake and Neytiri do not fall in love right away, their portrayers, Worthington and Saldana, felt the characters did. Cameron said the two actors had a great chemistry during filming. For the film's floating Hallelujah Mountains, the designers drew inspiration from many different types of mountains, but mainly the karst limestone formations in China. According to production designer Dylan Cole, the fictional floating rocks were inspired by Huangshan, also known as Yellow Mountain, Guilin, Zhangjiajie, among others around the world. Cameron had noted the influence of the Chinese peaks on the design of the floating mountains. To create the interiors of the human mining colony on Pandora, production designers visited the Noble Clyde Boudreaux oil platform in the Gulf of Mexico during June 2007. They photographed, measured, and filmed every aspect of the platform, which was later replicated on screen with photorealistic CGI during post-production. Cameron said that he wanted to make something that has this spoonful of sugar of all the action and the adventure and all that, but also have a conscience that maybe in the enjoying of it makes you think a little bit about the way you interact with nature and your fellow man. He added that the Na'vi represent something that is our higher selves, or our aspirational selves, what we would like to think we are. And that even though there are good humans within the film, the humans represent what we know to be the parts of ourselves that are trashing our world and maybe condemning ourselves to a grim future. Cameron acknowledges that Avatar implicitly criticizes the United States' role in the Iraq War and the impersonal nature of mechanized warfare in general. In reference to the use of the term shock and awe in the film, Cameron said, "We know what it feels like to launch the missiles. We don't know what it feels like for them to land on our home soil, not in America." He said in later interviews, "I think it's very patriotic to question a system that needs to be corralled." And the film is definitely not anti-American. A scene in the film portrays the violent destruction of the towering Na'vi home tree, which collapses in flames after a missile attack, coating the landscape with ash and floating embers. Asked about the scene's resemblance to the September 11 attacks on the World Trade Center, Cameron said he had been surprised at how much it did look like September 11. In July 2024, Cameron stated the film resembled the Manhattan Project, making up new physics as we went along, mastering a brand new methodology to tell stories. Cameron also acknowledged that it was actually film co-producer John Landau who was the heart of the Avatar family. Marketing. Promotions. The first photo of the film was released on August 14, 2009, and Empire released exclusive images from the film in its October issue. Cameron, producer John Landau, Zoe Saldana, Stephen Lang, and Sigourney Weaver appeared at a panel, moderated by Tom Rothman, at the 2009 San Diego Comic-Con on July 23rd. 25 minutes of footage was screened in Dolby 3D. Weaver and Cameron appeared at additional panels to promote the film, speaking on the 23rd and 24th, respectively. James Cameron announced at the Comic-Con Avatar panel that August 21st will be Avatar Day. On this day, the trailer was released in all theatrical formats. The official game trailer and toy line of the film were also unveiled on this day. The 129-second trailer was released online on August 20th, 2009. The new 210-second trailer was premiered in theaters on October 23, 2009, then soon after premiered online on Yahoo on October 29, 2009 to positive reviews. An extended version in IMAX 3D received overwhelmingly positive reviews. The Hollywood Reporter said that audience expectations were colored by the same establishment skepticism that preceded Titanic and suggested the showing reflected the desire for original storytelling. The teaser has been among the most viewed trailers in the history of film marketing, reaching the first place of all trailers viewed on Apple.com with 4 million views. On October 30th, to celebrate the opening of the first 3D cinema in Vietnam, Fox allowed Megastar Cinema to screen exclusive 16 minutes of Avatar to a number of press. The 3.5-minute trailer of the film premiered live on November 1st, 2009, during a Dallas Cowboys football game at Cowboys Stadium in Arlington, Texas, on the Diamond Vision screen, one of the world's largest video displays, and to TV audiences viewing the game on Fox. It is said to be the largest live motion picture trailer viewing in history. The Coca-Cola Company collaborated with Fox to launch a worldwide marketing campaign to promote the film. The highlight of the campaign was the website avtr.com. Specially marked bottles and cans of Coca-Cola Zero, when held in front of a webcam, enabled users to interact with the website's 3D features using augmented reality (AR) technology. The film was heavily promoted in an episode of the Fox series Bones in the episode The Gamer in the Grease, Season 5, Episode 9. Avatar star Joel David Moore has a recurring role on the program and is seen in the episode anxiously awaiting the release of the film. A week prior to the American release, Zoe Saldana promoted the film on Adult Swim when she was interviewed by an animated space ghost. McDonald's had a promotion mentioned in television commercials in Europe called Avatarize Yourself, which encouraged people to go to the website set up by Oddcast and use a photograph of themselves to change into a Na'vi. Books. Avatar, a confidential report on the biological and social history of Pandora, a 224-page book in the form of a field guide to the film's fictional setting of the planet of Pandora, was released by Harper Entertainment on November 24, 2009. It is presented as a compilation of data collected by the humans about Pandora and the life on it, written by Maria Wilhelm and Dirk Matheson. Harper Festival also released Wilhelm's 48-page James Cameron's Avatar, the reusable scrapbook for children. The Art of Avatar was released on November 30, 2009 by Abrams Books. The book features detailed production artwork from the film, including production sketches, illustrations by Lisa F. Fitzpatrick, and film stills. Producer John Landau wrote the foreword, Cameron wrote the epilogue, and director Peter Jackson wrote the preface. In October 2010, Abrams Books also released The Making of Avatar, a 272-page book that detailed the film's production process and contains over 500 color photographs and illustrations. In a 2009 interview, Cameron said that he planned to write a novel version of Avatar after the film was released. In February 2010, producer John Landau stated that Cameron plans a prequel novel for Avatar that will lead up to telling the story of the movie, but it would go into much more depth about all the stories that we didn't have time to deal with, saying that Jim wants to write a novel that is a big, epic story that fills in a lot of things. In August 2013, it was announced that Cameron hired Stephen Gould to pen 4 standalone novels to expand the Avatar universe. Video game. Main articles: Avatar the game and Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Cameron chose Ubisoft Montreal to create an Avatar game for the film in 2007. The filmmakers and game developers collaborated heavily, and Cameron decided to include some of Ubisoft's vehicle and creature designs in the film. Avatar, the game, was released on December 1st, 2009 for most home video game consoles: PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii, Nintendo DS, iPhone, and Microsoft Windows, and December 8th for PlayStation Portable. A second game, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, was released on December 7th, 2023. Action figures and postage stamps. Mattel Toys announced in December 2009 that it would be introducing a line of Avatar action figures. Each action figure will be made with a 3D web tag, called an iTag, that consumers can scan using a webcam, revealing unique on-screen content that is exclusive to each specific action figure. A series of toys representing 6 different characters from the film were also distributed globally in McDonald's Happy Meals. In December 2009, France Post released a special limited edition stamp based on Avatar, coinciding with the film's worldwide release. Theatrical. Initial screening. Avatar premiered in London on December 10, 2009, and was released theatrically worldwide from December 16th to 18th. The film was originally set for release on May 22, 2009 during filming, but was pushed back to allow more post-production time. The last shots were delivered in November, and give more time for theaters worldwide to install 3D projectors. Cameron stated that the film's aspect ratio would be for 3D screenings, and that a 2.39:1 image would be extracted for 2D screenings. However, a 3D 2.39:1 extract was approved for use with constant image height screens, i.e., screens that increase in width to display films. During a 3D preview showing in Germany on December 16th, the movie's DRM protection system malfunctioned, and some copies delivered weren't watched at all in the theaters. The problems were fixed in time for the public premiere. Avatar was released in a total of 3,457 theaters in the United States, of which 2,032 theaters showed it in 3D. In total, 90% of all advance ticket sales for Avatar were for 3D screenings. Internationally, Avatar opened on a total of 14,604 screens in 106 territories, of which 3,671 were showing the film in 3D, producing 56% of the first weekend gross. The film was simultaneously presented in IMAX 3D format, opening in 178 theaters in the United States on December 18th. The international IMAX release included 58 theaters beginning on December 16th, and 25 more theaters were to be added in the coming weeks. The IMAX release was the company's widest to date, a total of 261 theaters worldwide. The previous IMAX record opening was Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, which opened in 161 IMAX theaters in the US and about 70 international. 20th Century Fox Korea adapted and later released Avatar in 4D version, which included moving seats, smells of explosives, sprinkling water, laser lights, and wind. Post-original release. In July 2010, Cameron confirmed that there would be an extended theatrical re-release of the film on August 27, 2010, exclusively in 3D theaters and IMAX 3D. Avatar Special Edition includes an additional 9 minutes of footage, all of which is CG, including an extension of the sex scene and various other scenes that were cut from the original theatrical film. This extended re-release resulted in the film's runtime approaching the then-current IMAX platter maximum of 170 minutes, thereby leaving less time for the end credits. Cameron stated that the 9 minutes of added scenes cost more than $1 million a minute to produce and finish. During its 12-week re-release, Avatar Special Edition grossed an additional $10.74 million in North America and $22.46 million overseas, for a worldwide total of $33.2 million. The film was later re-released in China in March 2021, allowing it to surpass Avengers Endgame to become the highest-grossing film of all time. Avatar was re-released in theaters on September 23, 2022 by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures for a limited 2-week engagement, with the film being remastered in 4K high dynamic range with select scenes at a high frame rate of 48 FPS. The reissue was prior to the December 2022 premiere of its sequel, Avatar: The Way of Water. Prior to this, Cameron previously teased a re-release of the film back in 2017 when promoting the Dolby Cinema re-release of Titanic, stating that there were plans in the works to remaster the film with Dolby Vision and re-release it in Dolby Cinema. Home media. 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment released the film on DVD and Blu-ray in the United States on April 22, 2010, and in the United Kingdom on April 26th. The United States release was not on a Tuesday, as is the norm, but was done to coincide with Earth Day. The first DVD and Blu-ray release does not contain any supplemental features other than the theatrical film and the disc menu in favor of and to make space for optimal picture and sound. The release also preserves the film's format over the scope version, as Cameron felt that was the best format to watch the film. The Blu-ray disc contains DRM BD+5, which some Blu-ray players might not support without a firmware update. Avatar set a first-day launch record in the United States for Blu-ray sales at 1.5 million units sold, breaking the record previously held by The Dark Knight, 600,000 units sold. First-day DVD and Blu-ray sales combined were over 4 million units sold. In its first 4 days of release, sales of Avatar on Blu-ray reached 2.7 million in the United States and Canada, overtaking The Dark Knight to become the best ever-selling Blu-ray release in the region. The release later broke the Blu-ray sales record in the United Kingdom the following week. In its first 3 weeks of release, the film sold a total of 19.7 million DVD and Blu-ray discs combined, a new record for sales in that period. As of July 18, 2012, DVD sales, not including Blu-ray, totaled over 10.5 million units sold with $190,806,055 in revenue. Avatar retained its record as the top-selling Blu-ray in the U.S. market until January 2015, when it was surpassed by Disney's Frozen. The Avatar 3-disc extended collector's edition on DVD and Blu-ray was released on November 16, 2010. 3 different versions of the film are present on the discs: the original theatrical cut, 162 minutes, the special edition cut, 170 minutes, and a collector's extended cut, 178 minutes. The DVD set spreads the film across 2 discs, while the Blu-ray set presents it on a single disc. The collector's extended cut contains 8 more minutes of footage, thus making it 16 minutes longer than the original theatrical cut. Cameron mentioned, "You can sit down and in a continuous screening of the film, watch it with the Earth opening." He stated the Earth opening is an additional minutes of scenes that were in the film for much of its production, but were ultimately cut before the film's theatrical release. The release also includes an additional 45 minutes of deleted scenes and other extras. Cameron initially stated that Avatar would be released in 3D around November 2010, but the studio issued a correction. 3D is in the conceptual stage, and Avatar will not be out on 3D Blu-ray in November. In May 2010, Fox stated that the 3D version would be released sometime in 2011. It was later revealed that Fox had given Panasonic an exclusive license for the 3D Blu-ray version, and only with the purchase of a Panasonic 3D TV. The length of Panasonic's exclusivity period is stated to last until February 2012. In October 2010, Cameron stated that the standalone 3D Blu-ray would be the final version of the film's home release and that it was maybe 1-2 years out. On Christmas Eve 2010, Avatar had its 3D television world premiere on Sky. On August 13, 2012, Cameron announced on Facebook that Avatar would be released globally on Blu-ray 3D. The Blu-ray 3D version was finally released on October 16, 2012. On February 2, 2024, the film became available to stream in variable high frame rate in 3D 4K Dolby Vision on the Disney Plus app for the Apple Vision Pro. Reception. Critical response. On review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, 81% of 334 reviews are positive, and the average rating is 7.54/10. The site's consensus reads, "It might be more impressive on a technical level than as a piece of storytelling, but Avatar reaffirms James Cameron's singular gift for imaginative, absorbing filmmaking." On Metacritic, which assigns a weighted mean score, the film has a score of 83 out of 100 based on 38 critics, indicating universal acclaim. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale. Every demographic surveyed was reported to give this rating. These polls also indicated that the main draw of the film was its use of 3D. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times called the film extraordinary and gave it 4 stars out of 4. "Watching Avatar, I felt sort of the same as when I saw Star Wars in 1977, he said, adding that like Star Wars and The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, the film employs a new generation of special effects, and it is not simply a sensational entertainment, although it is that. It's a technical breakthrough. It has a flat-out green and anti-war message." A.O. Scott of At the Movies also compared his viewing of the film to the first time he viewed Star Wars, and he said, "Although the script is a little bit obvious, it was part of what made it work." Todd McCarthy of Variety praised the film, saying, "The king of the world sets his sights on creating another world entirely in Avatar, and it's very much a place worth visiting." Kirk Honeycutt of The Hollywood Reporter gave the film a positive review. "The screen is alive with more action, and the soundtrack pops with more robust music than any dozen sci-fi shoot-'em-ups you care to mention," he stated. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone awarded Avatar a 3.5 out of 4-star rating and wrote in his print review, "It extends the possibilities of what movies can do. Cameron's talent may just be as big as his dreams." Richard Corliss of Time thought that the film was the most vivid and convincing creation of a fantasy world ever seen in the history of moving pictures. Kenneth Turan of the Los Angeles Times thought the film has powerful visual accomplishments but flat dialogue and obvious characterization. James Berardinelli of Real Views praised the film and its story, giving it 4 out of 4 stars. He wrote, "In 3D, it's immersive, but the traditional film elements, story, character, editing, theme, emotional resonance, etc., are presented with sufficient expertise to make even the 2D version an engrossing hour experience." Avatar's underlying social and political themes attracted attention. Armand White of the New York Press wrote that Cameron used villainous American characters to misrepresent facets of militarism, capitalism, and imperialism. Russell D. Moore of the Christian Post concluded that propaganda exists in the film and stated, "If you can get a theater full of people in Kentucky to stand and applaud the defeat of their country in war, then you've got some amazing special effects." Adam Cohen of the New York Times was more positive about the film, calling its anti-imperialist message a 22nd century version of the American colonists versus the British, India versus the Raj, or Latin America versus United Fruit. Apologia for Pantheism, Hollywood's religion of choice for a generation now, while Saritha Prabhu of the Tennessean called the film a misportrayal of pantheism and Eastern spirituality in general, and Maxim Osipov of the Hindustan Times, on the contrary, commended the film's message for its overall consistency with the teachings of Hinduism in the Bhagavad Gita. Annalee Newitz of IO9 concluded that Avatar is another film that has the recurring fantasy about race, whereby some white guy becomes the most awesome member of a non-white culture. Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune called Avatar the season's ideological Rorschach blot, while Miranda Devine of the Sydney Morning Herald thought that it was impossible to watch Avatar without being banged over the head with the director's ideological hammer. Nidesh Lawtu believed that an essential, yet less visible social theme that contributed to Avatar's success concerns contemporary fascinations with virtual avatars and the transition from the world of reality to that of virtual reality. Critics and audiences have cited similarities with other films, literature, or media, describing the perceived connections in ways ranging from simple borrowing to outright plagiarism. Ty Burr of the Boston Globe called it the same movie as Dances with Wolves. Like Dances with Wolves, Avatar has been characterized as being a white savior movie, in which a backwards native people is impotent without the leadership of a member of the invading white culture. Parallels to the concept and use of an avatar are in Poul Anderson's 1957 novelette Call Me Joe, in which a paralyzed man uses his mind from orbit to control an artificial body on Jupiter. Cinema audiences in Russia have noted that Avatar has elements in common with the 1960s Noon Universe novels by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky, which are set in the 22nd century on a forested world called Pandora, with a sentient indigenous species called the Knave. Various reviews have compared Avatar to the films Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest, Pocahontas, and The Last Samurai. NPR's Morning Edition has compared the film to a montage of tropes, with one commentator stating that Avatar was made by mixing a bunch of film scripts in a blender. Gary Westphal wrote that the science fiction story that most closely resembles Avatar has to be Ursula Le Guin's novella, The Word for World is Forest, 1972. Another epic about a benevolent race of alien beings who happily inhabit dense forests while living in harmony with nature until they are attacked and slaughtered by invading human soldiers who believe that the only good gook is a dead gook. The science fiction writer and editor Gardner Dozois said that along with the Anderson and Le Guin stories, the mashup included Alan Dean Foster's 1975 novel, Midworld. Some sources saw similarities to the artwork of Roger Dean, which features fantastic images of dragons and floating rock formations. In 2013, Dean sued Cameron and Fox, claiming that Pandora was inspired by 14 of his images. Dean sought damages of $50 million. Dean's case was dismissed in 2014, and The Hollywood Reporter noted that Cameron had won multiple Avatar idea theft cases. Avatar received compliments from filmmakers, with Steven Spielberg praising it as the most evocative and amazing science fiction movie since Star Wars, and others calling it audacious and awe-inspiring, masterclass, and brilliant. Noted art director turned filmmaker Roger Christian is also a noted fan of the film. On the other hand, Duncan Jones said, "It's not in my top 3 James Cameron films." At what point in the film did you have any doubt what was going to happen next? For French filmmaker Luc Besson, Avatar opened the doors for him to now create an adaptation of the graphic novel series Valerian and Laureline that technologically supports the scope of its source material, with Besson even throwing his original script in the trash and redoing it after seeing the film. Time ranked Avatar number 3 in their list of the 10 greatest movies of the millennium thus far, also earning it a spot on the magazine's all-time 100 list, and IGN listed Avatar as number 22 on their list of the top 25 sci-fi movies of all time. Box office. General. Main article. List of box office records set by Avatar. Avatar was released internationally on more than 14,000 screens. It grossed $3,537,000 from midnight screenings in the United States and Canada, with the initial 3D release limited to 2,200 screens. The film grossed $26,752,099 on its opening day and $7,725,481 over its opening weekend, making it the second largest December opening ever, behind I Am Legend, the largest domestic opening weekend for a film not based on a franchise, topping The Incredibles, the highest opening weekend for a film entirely in 3D, breaking Up's record, 259. The highest opening weekend for an environmentalist film, breaking The Day After Tomorrow's record, and the 40th largest opening weekend in North America, despite a blizzard that blanketed the east coast of the United States and reportedly hurt its opening weekend results. The film also set an IMAX opening weekend record, with 178 theaters generating approximately $9.5 million, 12% of the film's $77 million at the time, North American gross on less than 3% of the screens. International markets generating opening weekend tallies of at least $10 million were for Russia, $19.7 million, France, $17.4 million, the UK, $13.8 million, Germany, $13.3 million, South Korea, $11.7 million, Australia, $11.5 million, and Spain, $11.0 million. Avatar's worldwide gross was $241.6 million after 5 days, the ninth largest opening weekend gross of all time, and the largest for a non-franchise, non-sequel, and original film. 261. 58 international IMAX screens generated an estimated $4.1 million during the opening weekend. Revenues in the film's second weekend decreased by only 1.8% in domestic markets, marking a rare occurrence, grossing $75,672,183 to remain in first place at the box office and recording what was then the biggest second weekend of all time. The film experienced another marginal decrease in revenue in its third weekend, dropping 9.4% to $68,490,688 domestically, remaining in first place at the box office, to set a third weekend record. Avatar crossed the $1 billion mark on the 19th day of its international release, making it the first film to reach this mark in only 19 days. It became the fifth film grossing more than $1 billion worldwide and the only film of 2009 to do so. In its fourth weekend, Avatar continued to lead the box office domestically, setting a new all-time fourth weekend record of $50,306,207 and becoming the highest-grossing 2009 release in the United States, beating Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. In the film's fifth weekend, it set the Martin Luther King Day weekend record, grossing $54,401,446, and set a fifth weekend record with a take of $42,785,612. It held the top spot to set the sixth and seventh weekend records, grossing $34,944,081 and $31,280,029 respectively. It was the fastest film to gross $600 million domestically on its 47th day in theaters. On January 31st, it became the first film to gross over $2 billion worldwide, and it became the first film to gross over $700 million in the United States and Canada on February 27th after 72 days of release. It remained at number one at the domestic box office for 7 consecutive weeks, the most consecutive number one weekends since Titanic spent 15 weekends at number one in 1997 and 1998. And also spent 11 consecutive weekends at the top of the box office outside the United States and Canada, breaking the record of 9 consecutive weekends set by Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest. By the end of its first theatrical release, Avatar had grossed $749,766,139 in the U.S. and Canada and $1,199,098,189 in other territories for a worldwide total of $2,749,064,328. Including the revenue from a re-release of Avatar featuring extended footage, Avatar grossed $785,249 in the U.S. and Canada and $2,137,696,265 in other countries for a worldwide total of $2,922,914. Avatar has set a number of box office records during its release. On January 25, 2010, it surpassed Titanic's worldwide gross to become the highest-grossing film of all time worldwide, 41 days after its international release, just 2 days after taking the foreign box office record. On February 2nd, 47 days after its domestic release, Avatar surpassed Titanic to become the highest-grossing film of all time in Canada and the United States. It became the highest-grossing film of all time in at least 30 other countries and is the first film to gross over $2 billion in foreign box office receipts. IMAX ticket sales account for $243.3 million of its worldwide gross, more than double the previous record. By 2022, this figure rose to $268.6 million. Box Office Mojo estimates that after adjusting for the rise in average ticket prices, Avatar would be the 14th highest-grossing film of all time in North America. Box Office Mojo also observes that the higher ticket prices for 3D and IMAX screenings have had a significant impact on Avatar's gross. It estimated on April 21, 2010, that Avatar had sold approximately 75 million tickets in North American theaters, more than any other film since 1999's Star Wars Episode I: The Phantom Menace. On a worldwide basis, when Avatar's gross stood at $2 billion just 35 days into its run, the Daily Telegraph estimated its gross was surpassed by only Gone with the Wind, $3.0 billion, Titanic, $2.9 billion, and Star Wars, $2.2 billion after adjusting for inflation to 2010 prices, $296. with Avatar ultimately winding up with $2.92 billion after subsequent re-releases. Reuters even placed it ahead of Titanic after adjusting the global total for inflation. The 2015 edition of Guinness World Records lists Avatar only behind Gone with the Wind in terms of adjusted grosses worldwide. Commercial analysis. Before its release, various film critics and fan communities predicted the film would be a significant disappointment at the box office, in line with predictions made for Cameron's previous blockbuster Titanic. This criticism ranged from Avatar's film budget to its concept and use of 3D blue cat people. Slate magazine's Daniel Engber complimented the 3D effects, but criticized them for reminding him of certain CGI characters from the Star Wars prequel films and for having the uncanny valley effect. The New York Times noted that 20th Century Fox executives had decided to release Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel, alongside Avatar, calling it a secret weapon to cover any unforeseeable losses at the box office. Box office analysts, on the other hand, estimated that the film would be a box office success. The holy grail of 3D has finally arrived, said an analyst for exhibitor relations. This is why all these 3D venues were built, for Avatar. This is the one, the behemoth. The cautionary estimate was that Avatar would bring in around $60 million in its opening weekend. Others guessed higher. There were also analysts who believed that the film's three-dimensionality would help its box office performance, given that recent 3D films had been successful. Cameron said he felt the pressure of the predictions, but that pressure is good for filmmakers. It makes us think about our audiences and what the audience wants, he stated. We owe them a good time. We owe them a piece of good entertainment. Although he felt Avatar would appeal to everyone and that the film could not afford to have a target demographic, he especially wanted hardcore science fiction fans to see it. If I can just get them in the damn theater, the film will act on them in the way it's supposed to, in terms of taking them on an amazing journey and giving them this rich emotional experience. Cameron was aware of the sentiment that Avatar would need significant repeat business just to make up for its budget and achieve box office success, and believed Avatar could inspire the same sharing reaction as Titanic. He said that film worked because when people have an experience that's very powerful in the movie theater, they want to go share it. They want to grab their friend and bring them so that they can enjoy it. They want to be the person to bring them the news that this is something worth having in their life. After the film's release and unusually strong box office performance over its first 2 weeks, it was debated as the one film capable of surpassing Titanic's worldwide gross, and its continued strength perplexed box office analysts. Other films in recent years had been cited as contenders for surpassing Titanic, such as 2008's The Dark Knight 309, but Avatar was considered the first film with a genuine chance to do so. And its numbers being aided by higher ticket prices for 3D screenings did not fully explain its success to box office analysts. Most films are considered to be healthy if they manage anything less than a 50% drop from their first weekend to their second. Dipping just 11% from the first to the third is unheard of, said Paul Dergarabedian, president of box office analysis for Hollywood.com. This is just unprecedented. I had to do a double take. I thought it was a miscalculation. Analysts predicted second place for the film's worldwide gross, but most were uncertain about it surpassing Titanic because today's films flame out much faster than they did when Titanic was released. Brandon Gray, president of Box Office Mojo, believed in the film's chances of becoming the highest-grossing film of all time, though he also believed it was too early to surmise because it had only played during the holidays. He said, "While Avatar may beat Titanic's record, it will be tough, and the film is unlikely to surpass Titanic in attendance." Ticket prices were about $3 cheaper in the late 1990s. Cameron said he did not think it was realistic to try to topple Titanic off its perch because it just struck some kind of chord, and there had been other good films in recent years. He changed his prediction by mid-January. "It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time," he said. Although analysts have been unable to agree that Avatar's success is attributable to one primary factor, several explanations have been advanced. First, January is historically the dumping ground for the year's weakest films, and this also applied to 2010. Cameron himself said he decided to open the film in December so that it would have less competition from then to January. Titanic capitalized on the same January predictability and earned most of its gross in 1998. Additionally, Avatar established itself as a must-see event. Gray said, "At this point, people who are going to see Avatar are going to see Avatar, and would even if the slate was strong. Marketing the film as a novelty factor also helped. Fox positioned the film as a cinematic event that should be seen in the theaters. It's really hard to sell the idea that you can have the same experience at home," stated David Mumpower, an analyst at boxofficeprofits.com. The Oscar buzz surrounding the film and international viewings helped. 2/3 of Titanic's haul was earned overseas, and Avatar tracked similarly. Avatar opened in 106 markets globally and was number one in all of them. And the markets such as Russia, where Titanic saw modest receipts in 1997 and 1998, are white-hot today, with more screens and moviegoers than before. According to Variety, films in 3D accumulated $1.3 billion in 2009, a threefold increase over 2008, and more than 10% of the total 2009 box office gross. The increased ticket price, an average of $2 to $3 per ticket in most markets, helped the film. Likewise, Entertainment Weekly attributed the film's success to 3D glasses, but also to its astronomical word of mouth. Not only do some theaters charge up to $18.50 for IMAX tickets, but the buzz created by the new technology was the possible cause for sold-out screening. Gray said Avatar, having no basis in previously established material, makes its performance remarkable and even more impressive. The movie might be derivative of many movies in its story and themes, he said, but it had no direct antecedent like the other top-grossing films. Titanic, historical events, the Star Wars movies, an established film franchise, or The Lord of the Rings, literature. It was a tougher sell. The Hollywood Reporter estimated that after a combined production and promotion cost of between $387 million and $437 million, the film turned a net profit of $1.2 billion. Accolades? Main article, list of accolades received by Avatar. Avatar won the 82nd Academy Awards for Best Art Direction, Best Cinematography, and Best Visual Effects, and was nominated for a total of 9, including Best Picture and Best Director. Avatar also won the 67th Golden Globe Awards for Best Motion Picture, Drama, and Best Director, and was nominated for 2 others. At the 36th Saturn Awards, Avatar won all 10 awards it was nominated for: Best Science Fiction Film, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Director, Best Writing, Best Music, Best Production Design, and Best Special Effects. The New York Film Critics Online honored the film with its Best Picture Award. The film also won the Critics' Choice Awards of the Broadcast Film Critics Association for Best Action Film and several technical categories out of 9 nominations. It won 2 of the St. Louis Film Critics Awards, Best Visual Effects and Most Original, Innovative or Creative Film. The film also won the British Academy of Film and Television Arts BAFTA Award for Production Design and Special Visual Effects and was nominated for 6 others, including Best Film and Directo. The film has received numerous other major awards, nominations, and honors. Legacy. Despite the film's financial and critical success, some journalists have questioned Avatar's cultural impact. In 2014, Scott Mendelson of Forbes said the film had been all but forgotten, citing the lack of merchandising, a fandom for the film, or any long-enduring media franchise, and further stated that he believed most general audiences could not remember any of the film's details, such as the names of its characters or actors in the cast. Mendelson argued Avatar's only achievement of note to be its popularization of 3D cinema. Despite this, he still felt it was a quality film, saying, "A great blockbuster movie can just be a great blockbuster movie without capturing the lunchbox market." He further reflected and reversed his stance in 2022 after the box office success of the re-release, saying, The very things that made Avatar sometimes feel like a forgotten blockbuster have inspired a skewed, renewed nostalgia for its singular existence. It was just a movie, an original auteur-specific movie that prioritized top-shelf filmmaking and clockwork plotting over quotable dialogue and memes. Some have questioned if there is an audience for the film's planned sequels, believing there to be a lack of interest in the face of the multiple delays of their release dates. Writing for The Escapist, Darren Mooney acknowledged that the film had not been broadly remembered in the pop cultural subconscious and had not found a fandom in the same sense as many other popular media, but argued that this was not a negative point, saying, "Its defining legacy is the insistence that it lacks a legacy." In 2022, in response to the trailer for Avatar's upcoming sequel and the film's re-release, journalists again questioned the cultural relevance of the film, particularly Patrick Ryan of USA Today, who said the film had curiously left almost no pop culture footprint. In contrast, Bill Jabiri of Vulture called others' opinions that the film had left no cultural impact narrow-minded, and said that the film still held up well. A detailed overview of the Avatar franchise was reported in the New York Times in December of that year. Sequels. Main articles: Avatar: The Way of Water, Avatar: Fire and Ash, Avatar 4, and Avatar 5. Avatar's success led to 2 sequels. This number was subsequently expanded to 4. Avatar: The Way of Water, 2022, grossed over $2.3 billion, becoming the highest-grossing film of 2022, and received a similarly positive critical and audience response. It will be followed by Avatar: Fire and Ash, 2025. The 4th and 5th Avatar films are scheduled to be released in 2029 and 2031. Related media. Stage adaptation. Toruk. The First Flight is an original stage production by the Montreal-based Cirque du Soleil, which ran between December 2015 and June 2019. Inspired by Avatar, the story is set in Pandora's past, involving a prophecy concerning a threat to the Tree of Souls and a quest for totems from different tribes. Audience members could download an app in order to participate in show effects. On January 18, 2016, it was announced via the Toruk Facebook page that filming for a DVD release had been completed and was undergoing editing. Theme park attraction. Main article: Pandora: The World of Avatar. In 2011, Cameron, Lightstorm, and Fox entered an exclusive licensing agreement with Disney to feature Avatar-themed attractions at Walt Disney Parks and Resorts worldwide, including a themed land for Disney's Animal Kingdom in Lake Buena Vista, Florida. The area, known as Pandora: The World of Avatar, opened on May 27, 2017. Novels. Following the release of Avatar, Cameron planned to write a novel based on the film, telling the story of the movie, but going into much more depth about all the stories that we didn't have time to deal with. In 2013, this plan was superseded by the announcement of 4 novels set within the Avatar Expanded Universe to be written by Stephen Gould. The books were due to be published by Penguin Random House, although since 2017, there has been no update on the planned book series. Watching Avatar, I felt sort of the same as when I saw Star Wars in 1977. That was another movie I walked into with uncertain expectations. James Cameron's film has been the subject of relentlessly dubious advance buzz, just as his Titanic was. Once again, he has silenced the doubters by simply delivering an extraordinary film. There is still at least one man in Hollywood who knows how to spend $250 million, or was it $300 million, wisely. Avatar is not simply a sensational entertainment, although it is that. It's a technical breakthrough. It has a flat-out green and anti-war message. It is predestined to launch a cult. It contains such visual detailing that it would reward repeating viewings. It invents a new language, Na'vi, as Lord of the Rings did, although mercifully I doubt this one can be spoken by humans, even teenage humans. It creates new movie stars. It is an event, one of those films you feel you must see to keep up with the conversation. The story, set in the year 2154, involves a mission by U.S. Armed Forces to an Earth-sized moon in orbit around a massive star. This new world, Pandora, is a rich source of a mineral Earth desperately needs. Pandora represents not even a remote threat to Earth, but we nevertheless send in ex-military mercenaries to attack and conquer them. Gung-ho warriors employ machine guns and pilot armored hover ships on bombing runs. You are free to find this an allegory about contemporary politics. Cameron obviously does. Pandora harbors a planetary forest inhabited peacefully by the Na'vi, a blue-skinned, golden-eyed race of slender giants, each one perhaps 12 feet tall. The atmosphere is not breathable by humans, and the landscape makes us pygmies. To venture out of our landing craft, we use avatars, Na'vi lookalikes grown organically and mind-controlled by humans who remain wired up in a trance-like state on the ship. While acting as avatars, they see, fear, taste, and feel like Na'vi, and have all the same physical adeptness. This last quality is liberating for the hero, Jake Sully, Sam Worthington, who is a paraplegic. He's been recruited because he's a genetic match for a dead identical twin who an expensive avatar was created for. In avatar state, he can walk again, and as his payment for this duty, he will be given a very expensive operation to restore movement to his legs. In theory, he's in no danger because if his avatar is destroyed, his human form remains untouched. In theory. On Pandora, Jake begins as a good soldier and then goes native after his life is saved by the lithe and brave Neytiri, Zoe Saldana. He finds it is indeed true as the aggressive Khal Miles Quaritch, Stephen Lang, briefed them that nearly every species of life here wants him for lunch. Avatars are not be made of Na'vi flesh, but try explaining that to a charging 30-ton rhino with a snout like a hammerhead shark. The Na'vi survive on this planet by knowing it well, living in harmony with nature, and being wise about the creatures they share with. In this and countless other ways, they resemble Native Americans. Like them, they tame another species to carry them around. Not horses, but graceful flying dragon-like creatures. The scene involving Jake capturing and taming one of these great beasts is one of the film's great sequences. Like Star Wars and Loader, Avatar employs a new generation of special effects. Cameron said it would, and many doubted him. It does. Pandora is very largely CGI. The Na'vi are embodied through motion capture techniques convincingly. They look like specific, persuasive individuals, yet sidestep the eerie, uncanny valley effect. And Cameron and his artists succeed at the difficult challenge of making Neytiri a blue-skinned giantess with golden eyes and a long, supple tail, and yet, I'll be damned, sexy. At 163 minutes, the film doesn't feel too long. It contains so much. The human stories. The Na'vi stories, for the Na'vi are also developed as individuals. The complexity of the planet, which harbors a global secret. The ultimate warfare, with Jake joining the resistance against his former comrades. Small, graceful details like a floating creature that looks like a cross between a blowing dandelion seed and a drifting jellyfish and embodies goodness. Or astonishing floating cloud islands. I've complained that many recent films abandon storytelling in their third acts and go for wall-to-wall action. Cameron essentially does that here, but has invested well in establishing his characters so that it matters what they do in battle and how they do it. There are issues at stake greater than simply which side wins. Cameron promised he'd unveil the next generation of 3D in Avatar. I'm a notorious skeptic about this process, a needless distraction from the perfect realism of movies in 2D. Cameron's iteration is the best I've seen, and more importantly, one of the most carefully employed. The film never uses 3D simply because it has it, and doesn't promiscuously violate the fourth wall. He also seems quite aware of 3D's weakness for dimming the picture, and even with a film set largely in interiors and a rainforest, there's sufficient light. I saw the film in 3D on a good screen at the AMC River East and was impressed. I might be awesome in true IMAX. Good luck in getting a ticket before February. It takes a hell of a lot of nerve for a man to stand up at the Oscar cast and proclaim himself king of the world. James Cameron just got re-elected. Avatar franchise, which includes the sequels Avatar: The Way of Water, Avatar 3, Avatar 4, and Avatar 5 movie plot in 2154. The natural resources of the Earth have been depleted. The Resources Development Administration mines the valuable mineral unobtainium on Pandora, a moon in the Alpha Centauri star system. Pandora, whose atmosphere is inhospitable to humans, is inhabited by the next 10 feet. Tall, blue-skinned, sapient humanoids that live in harmony with nature to explore Pandora. Genetically matched human scientists use Nask's human hybrids called avatars. Paraplegic Marine Jakes is sent to Pandora to replace his deceased identical twin, who had signed up to be an operator avatar program head. Dr. Grace Augustin considers silly inadequate, but accepts him as a bodyguard while escorting the avatars into the forest, where he is rescued by female Nazek's NT suspicious of Jake. She takes him to her clan NT's Mother Ma. The clan's spiritual leader orders her daughter to initiate Jake into their society. Learning of this, Grace transfers herself, Jake, and Norm to an outpost. Jake and NI fall in love. Jake is initiated into the tribe. He and NTI choose each other as mates. When Jake attempts to disable a bulldozer threatening a sacred Nasik site administrator, Parker Selfridge orders Home Tree destroyed, despite Grace's argument that destroying Home Tree could damage Pandora's biological neural network. Selfridge gives Jake and Grace 1 hour to convince the Naziks to evacuate. Jake confesses that he was a spy, and the Nasik take him and Grace. Captive Pitch's soldiers destroy Home Tree, killing many, including NT's father. The clan chief M frees Jake and Grace, but they are detached from their avatars and imprisoned by Q's forces. Pilot Trudy, shaken, disgusted by Q's brutality, airlifts Jake, Grace, and Norm to Grace's outpost. Grace is shot during the escape. Jake regains the Nask's trust by connecting his mind to that of Torah, a dragon-like creature feared and revered by the Naseks at the sacred Tree of Souls. Jake pleads with Ma to heal Grace. The clan attempts to transfer Grace into her avatar with the aid of the Tree of Souls, but she dies, supported by new Chief Tui. Jake unites the clan, telling them to gather all the clans to battle the RDA Poe organ. Eyes is a strike against the Tree of Souls to demoralize the Naseks. Jake prays to the Nasek's deity. Iowa via neural connection with the Tree of Souls. Sui and Trudy are among the battle's heavy casualties. The Nasik are rescued when Pander and Wildlife unexpectedly join the attack and overwhelm the humans, which NE interprets as Iowa answering Jake's prayer choir. Wearing an amp suit, escapes his crashed aircraft and breaks open the Avatar Link unit containing Jake's human body, exposing it to Pandora's poisonous atmosphere as Quarch prepares to slit Jake's avatar's throat. He is killed by Nitty, who saves Jake from suffocation. Seeing his human form for the first time, with the exceptions of Jake, Norm, and a select few others, all humans are expelled from Pandora. Jake is permanently transferred into his avatar with the aid of the Tree of Souls. Origins, he decided to concentrate on making documentaries and refining the technology for the next few years. It was revealed in a Bloomberg Businessweek cover story that 20th Century Fox had fronted $10 million to Cameron to film a proof-of-concept clip for Avatar, which he showed to Fox executives in October 2005. Development from January to April 2006. Cameron worked on the script and developed a culture for the film's aliens, the Naks. Their language was created by Dr. Paul Frere, a linguist at USC. The Naziks language has a lexicon of about 1,000 words, with some 30 added by Cameron. The system would use 2 high-def cameras in a single camera body to create depth perception. While these preparations were underway, Fox kept wavering in its commitment to Avatar because of its painful experience with cost overruns and delays on Cameron's previous picture, Titanic. The story would be of an entire world complete with an ecosystem of phantasmagorical plants and creatures and native people with a rich culture and language. Filming principle. Photography for Avatar began in April 2007 in Los Angeles and Wellington. Cameron described the film as a hybrid with a full live-action shoot in combination with computer-generated characters and live environments. Ideally, at the end of the day, the audience has no idea which they're looking at. Cameron said during filming, Cameron made use of his virtual camera system, a new way of directing motion capture filmmaking. The system shows the actor virtual counterparts in their digital surroundings in real time, allowing the director to adjust and direct scenes just as if shooting live action. According to Cameron, it's like a big, powerful game engine. If I want to fly through space or change my perspective, I can turn the whole scene into a living miniature and go through it on a 50-to-1 scale using convention techniques. The complete virtual world cannot be seen until the motion capture of the actors is complete. Cameron said, "This process does not diminish the value or importance of acting to film the shots where CGI interacts with live action. A unique camera, referred to as a simulcam, was used, a merger of the 3D fusion camera and the virtual camera systems. Due to Cameron's personal convictions about climate change, he allowed only plant-based food to be served on set. Visual effects. A number of innovative visual effects techniques were used during production. ILM was responsible for the visual effects for many of the film's specialized vehicles and devised a new way to make CGI Explosion Joe. Lettery was the film's visual effects general supervisor, music and soundtrack, he stated in an interview. Avatar has been the most difficult film I have worked on and the biggest job I've undertaken. Warner composed the score as two different scores merged into one. He first created a score that reflected the Knack's way of sound and then combined it with a separate traditional score to drive the film. British singer Leona Lewis was chosen to sing the theme song for the film called I See You. An accompanying music video directed by Jake Nava premiered December 15, 2009 on MySpace. Other information about this movie, directed by James Cameron, written by James Cameron, produced by James Cameron. John Landau, starring Sam, Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Stephen Lang, Michelle Rodriguez, Siger, Weaver Cinematography, Mora Fior, edited by Stephen Rifkin, John Riffa, James Cameron, music by James, her production companies 20th Fox, Lightstorm Entertainment, Dune Entertainment, Ingenious Film Partners, distributed by 20th Century Fox, release dates December 10th, 2009, December 18th, 2009, running time 162 minutes, countries United States, United Kingdom, language English, budget $37 million, box office $2.94 billion. Avatar is a 2009 epic science fiction film, directed, written, co-produced, and co-edited by James Cameron and starring Sam Worthington, Zoe Stephen Lang, Michelle Rodriguez, and Siggy Weaver. It is the first installment in the Avatar film series. The title of the film refers to a genetically engineered Knack's body operated from the brain of a remotely located human that is used to interact with the natives of Pandora development. Of Avatar began in 1994 when James Cameron wrote an 80-page treatment for the film. Filming was supposed to take place after the completion of Cameron's 1997 film Titanic for a planned release in 1999. However, according to Cameron, the necessary technology was not yet available to achieve his vision of the film. Work on the language of the Nassics began in 2005, and Cameron began developing the screenplay and fictional universe in early 2006. Avatar was officially budgeted at $237 million due to the groundbreaking array of new visual effects. Cameron achieved, in cooperation with WED Digital and Willen, other estimates put the cost at between $280 million and $310 million for production and at $150 million for promotion. The film made extensive use of new motion capture filming techniques and was released for traditional viewing, 3D viewing, and 4D experiences in selected South Korean theaters. Avatar premiered on December 10th, 2009 in London and was released in the United States on December 18th, 2009 to positive reviews. Critics highly praised its groundbreaking visual effect, though the story was considered to be predictable. During its theatrical run, the film broke several box office records, including becoming the all-time since January 2010. In July 2019, this position was overtaken by Avengers Endgame, but with subsequent re-releases beginning with China in March 2021, it returned to becoming the highest-grossing film since then, adjusted for inflation. Avatar is the second highest-grossing movie of all time, only behind Gone with the Wind, with a total of a little more than $3.5 billion. It also became the first film to gross more than $2 billion in the best-selling video title of 2010 in the United States. Avatar was nominated for 9 awards at the 82nd Academy Awards, winning 3, and received numerous other accolades. The success of the film also led to electronics manufacturers releasing 3D televisions and caused 3D films to increase in popularity. Its success led to the Avatar franchise, which includes the sequels Avatar: The Way of Water, Avatar 3, Avatar 4, and Avatar 5. Movie plot in 2154. The natural resources of the Earth have been depleted. The Resources Development Administration mines the valuable mineral unobtainium on Pandora, a moon in the Alpha Centaur star system. Pandora, whose atmosphere is inhospitable to humans, is inhabited by the Nasex's 10 feet tall, blue-skinned sapient humanoids that live in harmony with nature. To explore Pandora, genetically matched human scientists use Nasex's human hybrids called avatars. Paraplegic Marine Jake Celia sent to Pandora to replace his deceased identical twin, who had signed up to be an operator. Avatar program head Dr. Grace Austin considers Silly inadequate, but accepts him as a bodyguard while escorting the avatars of Grace and Dr. Norm Spellman. Jake's avatar is attacked by Pandora and wildlife, and he flees into the forest, where he is rescued by female Nasex Inti. Suspicious of Jake, she takes him to her clan Inti's mother May. The clan's spiritual leader orders her daughter to initiate Jake into their society. Learning of this, Grace transfers herself, Jake and Norm, to an outpost. Jake and N fall in love as Jake is initiated into the tribe. He and Inti choose each other as mates. When Jake attempts to disable a bulldozer threatening a sacred Nask site, Administrator Parker Selfridge orders Home Tree destroyed, despite Grace's argument that destroying Home Tree could damage Pandora's biological neural network. Selfridge gives Jake and Grace 1 hour to convince the Nasek to evacuate. Jake confesses that he was a spy, and the Nasek take him and Grace captive as soldiers destroy Home Tree, killing many, including NT's father, the clan. Chief Ma frees Jake and Grace, but they are detached from their avatars and imprisoned by Q's forces. Pilot Trudy Chakin, disgusted by Q's brutality, airlifts Jake, Grace, and Norm to Grace's outpost. Grace is shot during the escape. Jake regains the Nasek's trust by connecting his mind to that of Torah, a dragon-like creature feared and revered by the Nasek at the Sacred Tree of Souls. Jake pleads with Ma to heal Grace. The clan attempts to transfer Grace into her avatar with the aid of the Tree of Souls, but she dies, supported by new Chief Sui. Jake unites the clan, telling them to gather all the clans to battle the RDA. Quitch organizes a strike against the Tree of Souls to demoralize the Nay. Jake prays to the Nasek's deity, Iowa VA. Neural connection with the Tree of Souls, Sue and Trudy, are among the battle's heavy casualties. The Nasek are rescued, and Pandora and wildlife unexpectedly join the attack and overwhelm the humans, which Inti interprets as Iowa answering. Jake's prayer Quar, wearing an AMP suit, escapes his crashed aircraft and breaks open the Avatar link unit containing Jake's human body, exposing it to Pandora's poisonous atmosphere as Quar prepares to slit Jake's avatar's throat. He is killed by Niddy, who saves Jake from suffocation, seeing his human form for the first time. With the exceptions of Jake, Norm, and a select few others, all humans are expelled from Pandora. Jake is permanently transferred into his avatar. With the aid of the Tree of Souls Origins, he decided to concentrate on making documentaries and refining the technology for the next few years. It was revealed in a Bloomberg Businessweek cover story that 20th Century Fox had fronted $10 million to Cameron to film a proof-of-concept clip for Avatar, which he showed to Fox executives in October. 2005 development from January to April 2006. Cameron worked on the script and developed a culture for the films Aliens and Nasek. Their language was created by Dr. Paul Frere, a linguist at USC. The Nasek's language has a lexicon of about 1,000 words with some 30 added by camera. The system would use 2 high-def cameras in a single camera body to create depth perception. While these preparations were underway, Fox kept wavering in its commitment to Avatar because of its painful experience with cost overruns and delays on Cameron's previous picture. Titanic. The story would be of an entire world complete with an ecosystem of phantasmagorical plants and creatures and native people with a rich culture and language. Filming principal photography for Avatar began in April 2007 in Los Angeles and Wellington. Cameron described the film as a hybrid with a full live-action shoot in combination with computer-generated characters and live environments. Ideally, at the end of the day, the audience has no idea which they're looking at. Cameron said during filming, Cameron made use of his virtual camera system, a new way of directing. Motion capture filmmaking. The system shows the actor virtual counterparts in their digital surroundings in real time, allowing the director to adjust and direct scenes just as if shooting live action, according to Cameron. It's like a big, powerful game engine. If I want to fly through space or change my perspective, I can turn the whole scene into a living miniature and go through it on a 50:1 scale using conventional techniques. The complete virtual world cannot be seen until the motion capture of the actors is complete. Cameron said this process does not diminish the value or importance of acting to film the shots where CGI interacts with live action. A unique camera referred to as a simulcam was used, a merger of the 3D fusion camera and the virtual camera system. Due to Cameron's personal convictions about climate change, he allowed only plant-based food to be served on set. Visual effects. A number of innovative visual effects techniques were used during production. ILM was responsible for the visual effects for many of the film's specialized vehicles and devised a new way to make CGI explosion. Joe Lettery was the film's visual effects. General Supervisor Music and Soundtrack, he stated in an interview, "Avatar has been the most difficult film I have worked on and the biggest job I've undertaken." Warner composed the score as two different scores merged into one. He first created a score that reflected the Nask's way of sound and then combined it with a separate traditional score to drive the film. British singer Leona Lewis was chosen to sing the theme song for the film called I See You, an accompanying music video directed by Jake Nava. Premiered December 15th, 2009 on MySpace. Other information about this movie directed by James Cameron, written by James Cameron, produced by James Cameron, John Landau. Starring Sam and Zoe Saldana, Stephen Lang, Michelle Rodriguez, Sigourney Weaver. Cinematography, Maura Fiore, edited by Stephen Riffin, John Riffa, James Cameron. Music by James Hirrer Production Companies, 20th Century Fox, Lightstorm. Entertainment, Dune Entertainment, Ingenious Film. Partners distributed by 20th Century Fox. Release dates December 10th, 2009. December 18th, 2009. Running time 162 minutes. Country Countess, United States, United Kingdom. Language English. Budget $237 million. Box office $22.92 billion. Avatar is a 2009 epic science fiction film directed, written, co-produced and co-edited by James Cameron and starring Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Stephen Lang, Michelle Rodriguez, and Sig Weaver. It is the first installment in the Avatar film series. The title of the film refers to a genetically engineered Nessex body, operated from the brain of a remotely located human that is used to interact with the natives of Pandora. Development of Avatar began in 1994 when James Cameron wrote an 80-page treatment for the film. Filming was supposed to take place after the completion of Cameron's 1997 film Titanic for a planned release in 1999. However, according to Cameron, the necessary technology was not yet available to achieve his vision of the film. Work on the language of the Nasex began in 2005, and Cameron began developing the screenplay and fictional universe in early 2006. Avatar was officially budgeted at $237 million. Due to the groundbreaking array of new visual effects camera and achieved in cooperation with between $280 million and $310 million for production and at $150 million for promotion. The film made extensive use of new motion capture filming techniques and was released for traditional viewing, 3D viewing, and 4D experiences in selected South Korean theaters. Avatar premiered on December 10, 2009 in London and was released in the United States on December 18, 2009 to positive reviews. Critics highly praised its groundbreaking visual effects, though the story was considered to be predictable during its theatrical run. The film broke several box office records, including becoming the highest-grossing film of all time since January 2010 in July 2019. This position was overtaken by Avengers Endgame, but with subsequent re-releases beginning with China in March 2021, it returned to becoming the highest-grossing film since then, adjusted for inflation. Avatar is the second highest-grossing movie of all time, only behind Gone with the Wind, with a total of a little more than $3.5 billion. It also became the first film to gross more than $2 billion in the best-selling video title of 2010 in the United States. Avatar was nominated for 9 awards at the 82nd Academy Awards, winning 3 and received numerous other accolades. The success of the film also led to electronics manufacturers releasing 3D televisions and caused 3D films to increase in popularity. Its success led to the Avatar franchise, which includes the sequels Avatar: The Way of Water, Avatar 3, Avatar 4, and Avatar 5 movie plot in 2154. The natural resources of the Earth have been depleted. The Resources Development Administration mines the valuable mineral unobtainium on Pandora, a moon in the Alpha Centauri star system. Pandora, whose atmosphere is inhospitable to humans, is inhabited by the Nazx, 10 feet tall, blue-skinned sapient humanoids that live in harmony with nature to explore. Pandora genetically matched human scientists use Nazx's human hybrids called avatars, paraplegic marine. Jake S. is sent to Pandora to replace his deceased identical twin, who had signed up to be an operator avatar. Program head Dr. Grace Augustine considers Silly inadequate, but accepts him as a bodyguard while escorting the avatars of Grace and Dr. Norm Spellman. Jake's avatar is attacked by Pandora and wildlife, and he flees into the forest, where he is rescued by female Nazx NTI suspicious of Jake. She takes him to her clan NT's Mother Ma. The clan's spiritual leader orders her daughter to initiate Jake into their society. Learning of this, Grace transfers herself, Jake and Norm, to an outpost. Jake and Enty fall in love as Jake is initiated into the tribe. He and Enty choose each other as mates. When Jake attempts to disable a bulldozer threatening a sacred Nass site administrator, Parker Selfridge orders Home Tree destroy, despite Grace's argument that destroying Home Tree could damage Pandora's biological neural network. Selfridge gives Jake and Grace 1 hour to convince the Nasik to evacuate. Jake confesses that he was a spy, and the Nazx take him and Grace captive. Q's soldiers destroy, killing many, including E's father, the clan chief May, frees Jake and Grace, but they are detached from their avatars and imprisoned by Q's forces. Pilot Trudy Chekin, disgusted by Q's brutality, airlifts Jake, Grace, and Norm to Grace's outpost. Grace is shot during the escape. Jake gains the Nass's trust by connecting his mind to that of Torah, a dragon-like creature feared and revered by the Nazx at the sacred Tree of Souls. Jake pleads with Ma to heal Grace. The clan attempts to transfer Grace into her avatar with the aid of the Tree of Souls, but she dies supported by new Chief Sui. Jake unites the clan, telling them to gather all the clans to battle the RDA. Pitch organizes a strike against the Tree of Souls to demoralize the Nazx. Jake prays to the Nazx deity. Iowa, via neural connection with the Tree of Souls, Sui, and Trudy are among the battle's heavy casualties. The Nazx are rescued when Pandora and wildlife unexpectedly join the attack and overwhelm the humans, which NT interprets as Iowa answering Jake's prayer choir wearing an AMP suit. Escapes his crashed aircraft and breaks open the Avatar link unit containing Jake's human body, exposing it to Pandora's poisonous atmosphere as Quartz prepares to slit Jake's avatar's throat. He is killed by Niter, who saves Jake from suffocation, seeing his human form for the first time. With the exceptions of Jake, Norm, and a select few others, all humans are expelled from Pandora. Jake is permanently transferred into his avatar with the aid of the Tree of Souls. Origins. He decided to concentrate on making documentaries and refining the technology for the next few years. It was revealed in a Bloomberg Businessweek cover story that 20th Century Fox had fronted $10 million to Cameron to film a proof-of-concept clip for Avatar, which he showed to Fox executives in October 2005. Development from January to April 2006. Cameron worked on the script and developed a culture for the film's aliens. The Nas, their language was. Created by Dr. Paul Frere, a linguist at USC, the Nas language has a lexicon of about 1,000 words with some 30 added by camera. The system would use two high-def cameras in a single camera body to create depth perception while these preparations were underway. Fox kept wavering in its commitment to Avatar because of its painful experience with cost overruns and delays on Cameron's previous picture, Titanic. The story would be of an entire world complete with an ecosystem of phantasmagorical plants and creatures and native people with a rich culture and language. Filming principal photography for Avatar began in April. 2007 in Los Angeles and Wellington, Cameron described the film as a hybrid with a full live-action shoot in combination with computer-generated characters and live environments. Ideally, at the end of the day, the audience has no idea which they're looking at. Cameron said during filming, Cameron made use of his virtual camera system, a new way of directing motion capture film. Filmmaking, the system shows the actor virtual counterparts in their digital surroundings in real time, allowing the director to adjust and direct scenes just as if shooting live action, according to Cameron. It's like a big, powerful game engine. If I want to fly through space or change my perspective, I can turn the whole scene into a living miniature and go through it on a 50-to-1 scale using conventional techniques. The complete virtual world cannot be seen until the motion capture of the actors is complete. Cameron said this process does not diminish the value or importance of acting to film the shots where CGI interacts with live action. A unique camera referred to as a simul-cam was used, a merger of the 3D fusion camera and the virtual camera systems. Due to Cameron's personal convictions about climate change, he allowed only plant-based food to be served on set. Visual effects. A number of innovative visual effects techniques were used during production. Elam was responsible for the visual effects for many of the film's specialized vehicles and devised a new way to make CGI explosions. Joe Lettery was the film's visual effects general supervisor, music, and soundtrack. He stated in an interview, Avatar has been the most difficult film I have worked on and the biggest job I have undertaken. Warner composed the score as two different scores merged into one. He first created a score that reflected the Nask's way of sound and then combined it with a separate traditional score to drive the film. British singer Leona Lewis was chosen to sing the theme song for the film called I See You, an accompanying music video directed by Jake Nava. Premiered December 15, 2009. On MySpace. Other information about this movie. Directed by James Cameron. Written by James Cameron. Produced by James Cameron. John Landau. Starring Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Stephen Lang, Michelle Rodriguez, Sigi Weaver, cinematography, Maura Fiore, edited by Stephen Rifkin, John Riffa, James Cameron, music by James Horror Production Companies. 20th Century Fox, Lightstorm Entertainment, Dune Entertainment, Ingenious Film Partners, distributed by 20th Century Fox. Release dates December 10th, 2009, December 18th, 2009, running time 162 minutes, countries United States, United Kingdom, language English. Budget $237 million, box office $2.94 billion. So guys, this is the review of Avatar movie and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting. And if you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.